Hi everyone, my name's Athar. I'm Head of Social and Digital Activation at the British Heart Foundation, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our journey with Facebook fundraising. Before I do that, just a little bit about the BHF, the standard stuff, I'm afraid. So our vision is a world free from the fear of heart and circulatory disease, and we're well known as a research charity. We fund over £100 million of research every year, but I think as an organisation we're much more complex perhaps than people realise. We're one of the top 10 retailers in the UK, which means that there's a lot of extra stuff that has to happen on social and as a charity. We're an events organiser. We run some of the biggest challenge events. London to Brighton's one of ours, and we have up to 20,000 cyclists a year do that. And as well as doing research, we do provide quite a large amount of patient support online, via a helpline. We have BHF nurses, so there's a whole spectrum of what we do. So we're a large charity, but there's a lot more to it than that. For social media at the BHF, we use social media in all the ways that you would expect. We've got a fairly decent sized team, and we do social media to showcase the work of the BHF. We're really keen to bring research to the front. I think we know that a lot of people don't fully realise that the BHF are a research organisation, and surprisingly few people even really think of us as a charity. But with research in particular, I think a lot of people don't understand what research looks like or whether or not they can make an impact on that. So we really like to bring our researchers front and centre to show that they're real people in real labs doing something that's not quite as ethereal as perhaps medical research feels. And of course, we want to thank our supporters, encourage our fundraisers, and build that personal connection with people. And building that personal connection with people is something that we do in a quite a time-consuming but very high-value way. So we look at we have a low-volume, high-impact approach to messaging. So that doesn't mean that we don't message many people, but what it does mean is that we really focus on personalizing and tailoring our messaging as much as possible. So if someone is doing an event for us, be it Detox or My Marathon, if we're going to thank them for taking part, we'll try and take the time to have a dig in their profile, find out just a little bit about them. It might be what football team they support or what their favorite show is, and then pick a gift that's appropriate. Things like that make such a huge difference to how that individual will perceive you as a charity. And I think, a little goes a long way in that respect. And I think that that's a core to the ethos of what we do and how we treat social, and that kind of attitude goes across everything that we do. With Facebook fundraising, we weren't necessarily the earliest adopters, so we waited a while. I think Facebook fundraising had been live for quite a few months before we turned it on, and our idea of turning it on was just to turn it on for 3 months, see what happens, see what the income looks like, see how many fundraisers we got, see what sort of feedback we got, see if people were happy to use Facebook at all, or whether there were any sort of teething issues that we should be aware of. It was a pretty resounding success, and I think those first 3 months we were bringing in perhaps £30,000 to £40,000 a month purely from birthday fundraisers. And of course, with that income, internal interest went up, and we started to think about how we could maximize that income, how we could do something that could be properly embedded. Like when we turned it on at first, there was no stewardship, there was no anything really. We just at the end of each month looked at the transaction reports, and that was really all there was to it. So once we knew that it was something that the BHF was interested in and we could see a return on investment in putting time into it, we dedicated a bit of internal resource. So we got somebody in on a 1-year contract, and what we asked them to do was to really dig deep into the data to give us a really good indication of how many fundraising pages had been set up, how many people were fundraising, what was the average gift via a fundraiser page, all the sort of key metrics that you would look at for any fundraising product, which aren't necessarily built into the Facebook fundraising admin panel. So we did that. We also put a lot of time into developing an initial stewardship journey. All had to be within the fundraising pages themselves, but we worked out a way of doing that. It was very time consuming. There was a lot of spreadsheets. It was a lot of manual work. A year into that, we then got in touch with GivePanel, who had been presenting quite widely. Everyone kind of knew they were out there, and we wanted to see what the opportunities were there to help us banish all of our spreadsheets and give us a decent admin panel that would give us the information that we actually needed and simplify the stewardship journey. So that was only last year we actually got set up. So we're less than a year into our working with GivePanel, but we have been working very closely with them to develop a new stewardship journey. So far, so good. So as you can see, that's the kind of graph that everybody wants to see when it comes to income, monthly growth every month, which is, fantastic, and more than we could have possibly expected, bearing in mind that the pandemic's been on and a lot of fundraising has taken a hit. Lots of regular giving in particular has taken a hit across the sector, but Fundraisers, for us at least, has really kept ticking over. One of the key issues that we had before was that we didn't have any of the information about the fundraisers themselves or the people setting up the pages. We got all the data of the people that were making donations to those pages. There was a very, very low opt-in rate for them for receiving further marketing. And also, they're not really the people that we're after. Your leads are your fundraisers. They're the people that have chosen to fundraise for you. They're the people that, that have that connection to cause. And this could be like the first step in that journey. So using GivePanel forms, we added a data capture element to our stewardship journey. Of our active fundraisers, 32% of them fill in the form, and of those people, 62% of them opt in, which is great. And the real killer stat is that of our top fundraisers in terms of income, 22 out of 25 of them filled in the form, and 16 of them opted in, which is great, because those fundraisers, the people, our top 25 fundraisers, they're normally sort of out and proud about their connection to the cause. They've obviously brought in a lot of money for us, and so they're the people that we want to contact. We might put them in contact with their local community fundraising manager, or we might just try and steward them into another product or another way of joining us, maybe joining a fundraising group or something. We can't really accurately say why we've sort of bucked the trend and why our income has gone up steadily. We can hypothesize, but we think that it's probably a combination of these things. So the halo effect of organic, social, and brand activity, keeping the BHF front of mind. I think organic social is, this is a really good use case for investing time and effort into building your organic Facebook audience. The way that Facebook fundraising will list the charities that you can choose when you decide to set up a birthday fundraiser in particular is algorithm led. So people that follow your page, you will be higher up in their options. People that have engaged with your posts, you'll be higher up in their options. And so obviously we have quite a large organic following. So we have more than 500,000 people that like our Facebook page, and we run considerable amounts of advertising throughout the year. So all of those are opportunities for people to engage, and for those sort of warmest or most likely people to convert to be able to choose us. One of the other things is that improved in-platform messaging. So we've been working with GivePanel on that to apply best practice and to have a really strong messaging strategy, which isn't just once, but it's twice within the journey. It's and iterating on that. So we're always working with them on testing that messaging, seeing split testing to see what works best, and just always improving. And that's true of anything that you do in social. Is there's always room for improvement, and you should never sort of sit on your laurels, even if the numbers look good. One of the other big things that we did with GivePanel was we looked at $0 fundraisers. So whether you're working in Facebook fundraisers in platform or using GivePanel, they'll only appear in your transaction reports or in your admin if they've received a donation. But that doesn't mean that that's all the pages that have been set up. So we were really keen to get an idea of how many people set up fundraising pages but don't receive any donations, because that is an untapped audience, and we want to understand, is there anything we can do with them? Is there a way that through stewardship we can convert them into fundraising and increase our overall income? So we worked at GivePanel, we looked into it, and we did a test in December. So we were really surprised to find out that we had more $0 fundraisers than we did active fundraisers, almost twice as many, as you can see. And that was a bit of a shock. But then the most important thing is that they don't present the opportunity that perhaps you might think. So of those 1,800 people, all of them got messaged in platform, so we posted on their page, but only 185, so 10% of them went on to become fundraisers off the back of that. And the average gift of those fundraisers was much lower than our average gift for those people that had received that initial donation before receiving their first message. And of all of those 1,800 people, less than 1% of them filled in a data capture form. So I guess thinking about that, I guess what that says is that that initial donation is almost a filtering process in terms of sort of like lead gen, and just don't worry about the zero fundraisers. We look at whenever we're looking at any sort of fundraising product, we look at remittance rate, and so looking back at those figures, then we may only have approximately 30% remittance rate, but the income from those remitters is good, and so nothing really to worry about on that front. So we've worked out what our sort of top 5 learnings are on Facebook fundraising, and this definitely doesn't depend on you having a relationship with GivePanel. There's stuff that a lot of this is stuff that you can do just using spreadsheets or manually, and of course the scale at which you need to act on this is completely down to the number of fundraisers you have. We have, as you can see, around at least 1,000 a month, but smaller organizations could be looking at tens or up to 100. So a lot of what we kind of have to do through GivePanel is because of the scale. So let's talk about this. So posting a message on a supporters page as soon as possible, that is really key. I think it's important that people get an engagement with the charity. A lot of what we were seeing before we were getting messages from people asking if the fundraising page that they'd set up or that they'd donated to was legitimate, and that's fair enough. Like the BHF weren't necessarily a presence on their page, and any other fundraising journey that you go on, you'll get a thank you email. There'll be an established stewardship journey. You'll get that reassurance that your fundraising has been received. So getting that message on there allays that fear a little bit in people and really helps uplift donations. Sending that second message, we send ours on day 10 to people that haven't filled in the form after the first message. That's great if you've got a form, but capturing that data is perhaps one step back, and if not a learning, a tip. You need those people's data. You want them to come onto your CRM and to start becoming your regular fundraisers as well. Obviously, you can create a form on your website that you steer people towards, and we did try and do that, but the BHF's a big ship and we turned slowly, and using the Give panel forms, we were set up in no time. We had to go through all the usual compliance stuff internally, but the actual form itself was pretty easy to do. Thinking about your in-mem fundraisers slightly differently is really important. They should receive a message that is sensitive to their situation, and you should also definitely keep an eye on them. Of our sort of top fundraisers, a large proportion of them are normally in-mem, and they normally have that they normally personalize their story. They'll replace the cover photo with one of their lost loved one, and yeah, just treat them nicely, just as you would any in-mem fundraiser anywhere else. You can't look at Facebook fundraisers as one kind of amorphous whole. They're all they're all different. They're all individuals, and some people choose to set up a birthday fundraiser on a whim, and other people do it because they've got a really close connection. So across the board, just always try and read the messages. If someone's personalized that message, to try and respond to that. Consistency is key. So try to, depending on your volume and resource, but if you can, message every day. And that doesn't mean message every fundraiser every day. It's go in, check for new fundraisers, and post that welcome message every day. And yeah, going back to what I said before, iterating on that, making sure that every month or whenever you have a chance, review those posts, try different things. If you have got a form, make sure your message copy is short and the link to the form doesn't fall below the fold. You don't want people having to expand the post to see that there is a form. Again, I can't stress enough how much you should think and prioritize getting a data capture in there, because the high proportion of the people whose data you capture will be new to your CRM. Facebook is a very different acquisition channel, and is because it's so instant, because people can do it, as I say, on a whim. The journey from them making that decision and coming to you is much less protracted, perhaps, than some of the other routes to becoming part of your sort of supporter base, whether it's signing up for a mass participation event or running a 10K. All of those processes the decision-making processes is a lot less instantaneous than getting a notification on your feed, choosing you from that drop-down menu. So definitely think of your Facebook fundraising audience as a new audience, and don't assume that they're people that are already on your CRM. And that's it from me. I hope that was useful. It was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but thanks.